back to another challenge video, and today I'm going to be trying to make a thrill coaster under 50 foot or 15 meters, and this is with the coaster type I'm using, Mac Multi-Launch. I thought for challenge videos I haven't really used this coaster type yet, so I thought it'd be interesting to do. The coaster that is probably going to be inspiring this the most is Icon. I know it's quite a bit taller than 50 foot or 15 meters, but it's got most of the rides like quite low to the ground, so that'll be what it's inspired by, and obviously it's a Mac Multi-Launch as well. And just to put it into perspective, that is how tall I can go. I'll move it over so you can see, but yeah, it's not very tall. I've raised the station up a bit just because I want to do some like cool kind of inversion coming out of the station, but I think the best way to probably go about this is to kind of build down. I'll probably do an Alton Towers, like you can almost pretend this is the tree height, but a lot of rides at Alton Towers, they dig down obviously into the landscape. There's a good example of this obviously is Nemesis on the Smiler I suppose as well, but mainly with Nemesis they stuck loads of TNT in the ground, blew it up, and then they created these like huge like big open areas in the actual landscape that they basically just sat the coaster in, so you can't see it from outside of the park. It's nice and below the tree line, and it just makes the coaster that much more interesting, like all the landscape interaction and everything. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started, shall we? I've changed the train from the original 5-car train to the 4 cars just because it's going to be a smaller coaster, obviously, with it only being under 50 foot. So I wanted to do some like smaller transitions and everything. I'll probably go back and 2 meter smooth this after I've done the 4 meter smooth, just like I did for the Vekoma SLC video that came out last week. But I think I'm going to do kind of almost a Ride to Happiness and do like a really slow inversion coming out of the station. Actually, do we make this our first trench? We can make this the first trench, so yeah, if we actually do make it lower. Kind of bring it back to 0. Start to bring it up a bit. There we go. I'm not going to turn the tunneling on just because the tunneling's not particularly great. It struggles when it doesn't really know what to do. So if I dig down to the actual coaster, that's what it tends to do. Dig down to the actual coaster track, set this, and I can dig the trench for the launch. I think the first launch is going to be just quite a short one. I'm thinking the first of it actually, the start part, can almost be a bit like, what's it called, Tutatis at Park Asterix. So we'll do the launch, and this will be where we find out how short we can get with it. So I think we'll come into like some sort of stall turn. Just need to see how tall we can get with it. I don't know how tall we will actually be able to get, that's the only issue. I mean, we'll find out. That's already at 9 meters, yeah. That needs to be 0 now. So we can actually start the stall. I'm trying to think, you'll have to let me know in the comments. I never actually looked before this, but are there any thrill coasters that are like under 50 foot? I don't really think it happens, does it? I'm thinking that can only be like the first pre-launch section. And then should we have a bit of, oh, what's it called? The really low down swoopy part that's on Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa. I should know that because I'm wearing a Busch Gardens t-shirt at the moment. So you can kind of keep it coming down. Then I can put the launch on, put it 10 meter sections again. I don't actually know how. See, the one was 3 pieces, wasn't it? So I'll make this one 4. I don't actually know how fast these launches need to be, is what I was going to say. So I can dig into the trench of this launch. I mean, this is how most parks, like I've said, get around height limits. They just dig down, and it works quite well. There we go. I'm going to turn the supports off actually as well. So I don't like the way they look as usual, because I am an absolute freak when it comes to custom supports. I'll be custom supporting this myself, definitely. I might actually make that inversion turn around the other way, you know. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Let's delete that. There we go. That works much better. So then we can smooth this. I'm not actually going to put that much on the smoothing, just this first inversion, because I think I'll 2 meter it now. Here we are, so that's mostly profiled. It doesn't look too bad. But what I'm going to do is, just while I'm here, I'll do a little 2 meter smoothing tutorial just for those that you don't know how to do it. So you can only do this on PC, because the shortest amount you can go on console is 4. But I suppose it would work on console as well if you've got bigger track pieces and you're trying to make them in smaller ones. So how I do it on PC, I've got my 4 meter mostly smoothed. I delete that 4 meter piece, add in a 2 meter piece, and then you just auto complete the second one. So I'll do it again here. Delete the 4 meter, add 2 2 meter pieces, auto complete it. You don't really need to smooth this afterwards. I know some people do, you can do. There's ways of doing it like that. Just gonna go through, do all my 2 meter pieces like this. Obviously, this is what I always meant about, you can smooth it before, but most of the time it doesn't really make too much difference because you're still gonna end up with a load of jank like this. Make that 2 meters. And obviously when I actually properly smooth this as well, it'll hopefully drag out some of the inversion down here to this flatter part, so it's not as tight. Get rid of that piece. There you go. So now that's all 2 meter smooth. I'll turn off the supports again. Don't know why they turn themselves back on, just so you can actually see what I'm doing. And then what I normally do is grab 4 pieces, so 4 of the 2 meters pieces. You just do a couple of smoothing passes and it'll sort out all the issues you've got with it. And then I did notice that just coming out of the station, I don't know whether that might be a little bit too extreme for the first turn, so I'm gonna slightly do that to the banking. And obviously you can go around. Smooth it again. There you go, look at that. Like, pretty much perfectly smooth. I don't know whether the actual just 4 meter per second release speed from the station will be enough. We'll give it a go. So I'm probably going to end up upping the friction as well. Oh, that's actually enough. You get a nice bit of hang time. I'm going to show you what happens when you try to build. I mean, that's technically too tall still. That's 18 meters. It needs to be. That's where 15 meters is. That's taking it from a higher point. But yeah, so we have a look. You can see the G-forces, yeah, nearly 7 Gs. So we can't have some sort of like Immelman turnaround just after here. So what I think I'm going to do is we'll have like a short spree of airtime hills, I think. So we'll have sort of an airtime hill that comes to about 15 meters, I think. But yeah, we'll go actually right to 15 meters because it's going to be the tallest point of the ride, isn't it? 14, that's close enough. I can increase that a little bit so we can get the most out. There we go, so that is exactly 50 foot tall. And then I can kind of have some sort of, I'm thinking maybe some sort of like double down almost, but have the second part of it, there we go, put the banking back on. Have the second part of it sort of off axis. And it comes around here. Obviously I can make it quite whippy with some of these transitions because of how short the actual train length and the height is. It's not going to be too forceful at any points. Kind of do, I know this is a Mac, but we can do some sort of like Intamin style speed hill. Well, speed like kind of twisty hill, I don't really know what the right word for it is. But one of these, one of them, so it's kind of like, it's almost like it's shaped from a speed hill when you look at it from the side, but over the top it kind of like twists. It's like an S. I don't know what you call it. One of those. You can have another inversion because obviously we've only got 2 so far. You can do some sort of 0 G roll. It's one thing I do like about Mac coasters. They're very like graceful. They're never particularly too intense or fast or like have really whippy transitions. They are just like quite nice and, you know, like I mean I know there's obviously like what's the really big launch coaster that's just opened, the Through the Clouds one, I can't remember what it's called. But that, I mean, that one does look like the most intense one yet. But when I'm speaking about like Icon and stuff, they're normally like quite nice transitions. It's a nice solid little pop of ejector there. They're quite cool. Should we go into a trench again? We'll go into a trench. Do a nice turnaround. I mean, this will be kind of the point in the layout where it'll probably start losing a bit of speed. Do another inversion here as well, I think. That's sort of a barrel roll kind of deal. I really enjoy doing these challenge videos just because they're not some sort of like, I don't know how to put it. Like when I build the park videos, that's kind of like what I'm doing, isn't it? I suppose. Like, you can watch along, get inspired by it and stuff, but whereas with these challenge videos, you can quite easily do the challenge yourself if you wanted to. And that's what I really like about them. It's kind of like opening up a new idea for everyone to have a go at. Speaking of which, this inversion is horrible. There we go. So that obviously, no matter whether you're on console, PC, these are just some nice challenges to do, and especially if you like kind of struggling with ideas for what coasters to put in your parks, doing a challenge like this can be like a nice way of fitting in a unique coaster to your park. Because I know most of the coasters that I build in my parks, especially for when the new park starts, I'm always trying to make this be something about the ride that's unique. Because I just kind of feel that it's not like gimmicky, like I don't want it to be like a world's first or anything, but I really like having there's just something about a ride, you know, like that just makes it a little bit special, kind of stands out from the rest. And I feel like these challenge videos can kind of, I don't know, hopefully give you some good ideas for stuff like that. If I move it all to that side, you can still exit on that side. Then I'll need to move this over. The station base thing over. There we go. And then I can start building a block section off the back of this. So if I build this turn in, and then actually what I want to do is have, if you don't, because Icon has this, it doesn't have drive tires on this exit part because it's actually, the whole thing's sloped. So if you just bring it up slightly, there you go, I can delete that one. And then you can put in the next block section. A little 4 meter piece of track that's just angled up slightly. And then your brakes. I think I might actually make this ending a little bit more unique than it was originally going to be. So I can have some sort of like weird whip to the left. Just all about being playful with your layouts, really. Obviously, I like layouts that are like the manufacturer, so obviously that's what's realistic, but you can have a play around for a bit. I mean, if you look at some of the transitions and stuff on Icon, they clearly had a lot of fun designing it, because there's some really wacky ones. There we go. So that's the layout. It's quite nice and simple. I've only come close to the height barrier on about 2 spots. Obviously, this layout's not final. I might go and change some parts of it. But it's a good way to kind of stop the actual height barrier problem by digging these trenches for certain parts of it. It just works. So I will kind of get this 2 meter smoothed. If I'm going to change any parts, I'll update you. I'll let you know what I've changed. Because I know, me being me, there'll be some parts of it I'm not happy with. So we can get to that when we get to it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this layout. So I will get back to you at the kind of like next stage of the build. So the first update, I'm going to literally do right away. I'm going to get rid of this. Stall's going, don't like it. I've ridden it on the POV and yeah, I just don't like it. So simple as that, it's gone. So instead, I'm thinking of doing quite a nice kind of slow barrel roll. Well, I mean, I say slow, it is going to be, it is going to be at this point in the ride just after this first launch. So it probably will be relatively quick, but so there we go. It kind of does this barrel roll thingy, and because this is a bit tighter as well, which is what I was struggling with this part, I think it'll make it a bit better. I can actually make this go quite lower. Actually, it can have its own. It can have a trench like the other parts. I don't know what to call it. The cheetah hunt section. It can enter the cheetah hunt section here. That's basically what it is, which I'm fine with. That's the thing, I don't really do recreations, but copying certain elements from certain rides, well, it's not really taking creative inspiration, shall we say, taking creative inspiration from certain rides is completely fine. Like, obviously you can't really do, think of it like a dive coaster, you can't really do a dive coaster without doing what most of the dive coasters do anyway, it's just how that ride model works. So obviously there's going to be similarities between certain rides that you do. Oh, that looks nice, just that shot down there. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. So I've changed that inversion, and I think actually the rest of the layout's alright. I like this double up that it does here. then this kind of off-axis part that actually, when I'm smoothing it, it's going to be way more banked. But obviously when I'm smoothing it, once I've smoothed it, sorry, it'll be less banked and more drawn out. There's this turn around here, this kind of, that will now be actually, if I dig this down a bit more, this now way more aggressive and snappy airtime hill. Goes underground, does this inversion here that kind of goes into this overbank, the twisty bit, double down, and more twisty goodness, that inversion, that other kind of rapid air hill thing. Air hill? Airtime hill? I can't speak. Then it does that, and into the brakes. So I will actually get smoothing. Kept it 4 meter apart from this bit, which you saw me convert into 2 meter. And I think the main problem with it, you'll notice a few bits have changed, is that some parts are just a bit too slow. Like this first section, I might turn down the kind of harshness of some of these turns, but first section is completely fine. The second section, obviously that's the ceiling height, so it can't go above that. And it goes over at a pretty perfect speed, but I've tried to make these elements a bit larger. But as you can see, it's starting to now, and you'll see it just as it goes over this overbank. It loses its speed really quickly. I mean, look how slow that's going around there. I'm going to increase the speed to 45 now. We'll put it at 50, if it'll let me. 50? Yeah. Leave it at 50. But what I'm going to do is, so the airtime will probably be a bit harsher on here actually, but if I kind of start raising some of this up. There we go. Because it's still got about 50 miles an hour there. And now that it's faster, it will actually make this section probably a fair bit more enjoyable. It'll actually go through it with some speed. What's the speed of it now? They're at 35 miles an hour. Yeah, look at that. It's like flying into the brakes. Much better. I think this will probably be the last update I'll do for this coaster. I will smooth it once I'm happy with the layout in 2 meter smooth, like you saw me do for the first inversion at the start of the video. Then I'll go and add the trenches to the certain areas that need it, and that's about it. The coaster's done, pretty much after that. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. It's been a nice quick one again. Thank you again very much for the success, and that needs to change. I need to change the block sections. Thank you again for how well the SLC in 2023 design video has gone. That was a very fun video to make, and you guys clearly really like it. So more challenges like that to come before the next park series, definitely. So thanks for the support on that as usual, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video after the POV and off-ride footage. See you later.